The thylacine, also known as the Tasmanian tiger, supposedly went extinct in 1936. However, they may still be alive in Papua New Guinea, but it may have lived past 1936 in a separate continent. How does a marsupial predator end up in North America? Keep watching to find out. In 1902, one male was transported to the zoo in Washington, D.C., and one female thylacine and 3 joeys to the Bronx Zoo. The joeys did not survive transport. However, the female survived and had harsh conditions and being fed unnatural prey in the zoo, like a rabbit, and in a concrete box for an enclosure. It died in 1919. This is the same zoo that put a human on display, so not good conditions. And they tried to get more thylacine as possible, called the thylacine race, and ended up with 11 to 13 thylacines at the Bronx Zoo. However, a ship sunk in 1916 or 1917, over 100 years ago, on the coast of New England, and may have had 1 or 2 pairs of breeding thylacines. Although they claim all animals died in transit, however, no bodies were found. However, it is possible they also just drowned. However, it is fun to think about. Could thylacines even survive in New England? In its native range, it would hunt marsupials. However, the only marsupial in New England is the opossum, which is an invasive species, and in fact, the only started to increase in population in 1950. Does 1950 mean anything to you? Well, it should. It's the year that coyotes were introduced to New England. And other competition wouldn't be an issue because grey wolves were eradicated in New England before the 20th century. However, black bears would still be present. However, they would fill a different niche, leaving a 33-year window for 1 or 2 breeding pairs of thylacines. We don't just think this event happened due to one ship sunk. During this time, there were many chupacabra sightings, the reptilian scaled blood-sucking cryptid. However, the more likely answer is just a mangy fox or dog. We can tell this by the hock, the placement of the ankle, and the sighting continued even after 1950. And we know that thylacines can't coexist with canine species. We know this from dingoes in mainland Australia. I would like to thank Gavin the wildlife guy, otherwise I would never heard of this really cool story. Link in the description. Just know that this is a very small chance of even happening, however it is fun to think about. Remember to like, comment and subscribe, and stay tuned for more paleontology news.